Hi.
My name's
Wait a
Julian.
minute.
Wait.
That wasn't
what are you
right.
doing? What's wrong?
You're supposed to say hi. I was supposed to say hello.
Oh, really? You say hello, and I say hi. Isn't that how the song goes?
You nailed it.
All right. Am I keeping this in, or are we starting all
Oh,
over?
100%. This is fantastic.
All right. Hello. Wait, no. Hi.
Hello.
I'm Julian.
That's more natural. And I'm Tom.
And we're Team Binge. And thank you for joining us for episode 7 of Outer Range. This is known as The Unknown. The episode is known as The Unknown. That's a sentence that makes sense.
Just as much as the show does.
Yes, just as much as the show does. I would like to say something at the top, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to give us all the credit that we deserve. We don't get a lot of thank yous or, listens, but we are called Team Binge, and we are kind of the opposite of Binge. So I don't know if we named ourselves that ironically, but we literally watch shows week to week. And I was listening to someone talk about this today about like the instant gratification of being able to like watch 12 episodes of a show over the course of like 2 days. And I think because of us and the people that listen to us, once again, no one's ever thanked us for this. But we kind of force them to watch things a week at a time. And it's like a slow burn. It's like, you know how when you smoke a cigarette and you smoke it over the course of several days, like, and it just feels better? We're a slow burn, just like that. I'm assuming that's where that phrase comes from. So I would just like to pat us on the back that we have gone out of our way to show restraint of not watching this show when we could have and doing it week to week. And for all of those people that don't listen and do listen, you're welcome. That's all I have to say. I just wanted to point
that's
that
fair.
out.
I mean, yeah, you could make the argument maybe we should have been called the anti-binge. Like, that could have been our preface going into these recordings of podcasts.
But we're a team,
telling
Tom.
people, hey, slow down. We are a team and always will be. But yeah, I do, like we were talking about before we went on mic, watching other shows like Stranger Things, which has been fantastic. The most recent seasons have been a lot of fun. But it's one that they just do that dump. And I think they're doing 2 seasons or 2 parts of the season. But when they throw them all at you, you watch it for a weekend, you talk about it with your friends, and then you just kind of move on. It's fun to kind of digest the show. I think especially something like this, it's got a little bit more of a mystery element.
Sure.
To kind of take your time and think through it. But it's also one of those shows that every time we finish recording a pod, I want to get to that next one.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to call us heroes, but we are. And so every time corporate America makes one of those commercials where they thank someone like, I don't know, first responders or people for stopping racism, I like to think we're in that group. We too
We're
are
in that
heroes.
category?
You're welcome, Dodge Ram trucks, for ending, I don't know, something. Anyways, that's where my headspace is at right now. I feel really good. So good, watch this transition, that I'd love to go roller skating. And that's where this episode starts us. In the roller rink, we got ourselves not a flash forward, but a flash back. And we're in the past. And we know it's the past because people are at a roller rink. I didn't have a time frame on this, though. Did you have a time frame?
I don't know. The only thing I could think of is maybe Perry is 9 here, so they're playing on like the same age range that Royal showed up at the Abbott Ranch and kind of came up from the void. So that would be my guess. I don't know what exact year that would be, but
okay. So you think they're mirroring his age when he came through the hole as to the age where Perry was awoken to the sweet, sweet feeling of murdering someone with his bare hands at the
murderous
age of
rage.
9?
Yep.
Oh man, I got a lot of questions about everything that happened here. But yeah, we open it with Perry, as he loves to do, holding someone down and beating them in the face repeatedly. While I'm assuming Rhett watches. I don't know. I thought it was Billy he was beating up, but you think it's who?
It's Trevor. Yeah, I think Patricia comes on and like says like, oh, she started beating Trevor unprovoked and blah, blah, blah. So I think what they're doing is like playing on the idea that Perry is destined to beat Trevor to a pulp.
Sure.
Like at some point in life, he did it when he was a kid. Who knows if he did it later in life? But clearly that's what happened in the end of Trevor's life.
Do you think at his grown-up age, he's now remembering all the people he punched in the face at 9, and something in him is like, I need to go around and systematically murder them? Because that's kind of
finish
how
him
I
off.
feel. I also like your idea that Perry and Royal are the same age. Like there's a juxtaposition of Perry at 9 and Royal at 9. Royal at 9, he's murdering his dad on a hunting trip. Perry at 9 is beating someone to Britney Spears' Toxic at the roller ring. Those, like the two different lives, but similar in a way because of the violence. I really like, and I do like that they have Royal racking up points on Deer Hunter.
Which seemed odd because like they make mention of Royal not liking electronics, right? Like he doesn't have a phone. He seemingly, because he's from the late 19th century, he didn't want a phone, or he didn't have those electronics. So the fact that he'd be playing Deer Hunter, like a video game in, around early 2000s, seems odd.
Well, I mean, he demonstrates during this episode that he loves shooting things. So I think he just wants his hand on a rifle any way he can while he's shooting those does. I've never played Deer Hunter, but it looks like a silly game.
I've got a question though. Is this Royal or is this Tom Selleck? Because he's giving off some pretty heavy Tom Selleck vibes with that mustache.
Fair point. Yeah, all he needed was like a Hawaiian shirt, and I don't know. Did that guy drive like a Corvette? What did he drive? What did Magnum PI
Probably.
drive? Man, I hope I've got the right TV show. But no, I'm with you. He looked great. That's all I know. I was like, Brolin at any age can take me to the roller rink to play Deer Hunter. Patricia berates him. Rhett, I like little Rhett. Rhett's like, shut up. I was like, okay, little kid. Maybe stay out of it. So, yeah, this is established that Perry's been beating people for a long time. And they have this conversation in the car, and maybe you pinpointed it. I did not. But he's like, what is this feeling? I don't know what this feeling is. And it's like they identify it. He's like anger, and he's like, no, it's not anger. And it's like, okay, what do these two have inside of them that the rest of us don't? That is nameless. Do we like?
I wasn't sure what they were getting at here too.
Okay.
I thought it was going to align somehow with Royal's backstory when he kind of tells it at the end, but really it was an accident. Shot his father. Couldn't figure out how to deal with it and cope with it with his sister and mother, and then just vanishes. Like, I think that's, I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of things. It's grief, anger, rage. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. You almost think like the way they telegraph this is like Royal ran away some terrible deed that he like did on purpose. And then you're kind of like with this scene, my thought was, both him and Perry have like rage issues or like can't control their fists when they're angry, but that's not Royal's story. And so I did not understand this conversation at all, but it was beautifully shot, and Royal does a great job not telling the story, where he's like, I'm going to tell you a story, and then he's like, never mind, it's too difficult to talk to children, and then we move on.
Maybe that's the reason. Like, the idea is just so he can start seemingly telling Perry this story at age 9 and then finish the story when he's 39 or whatever, like right before Perry takes his leap.
I don't know a lot of things, but I know telling 9-year-old Perry that story about shooting your dad is not the right time. Good job waiting until he's in his 30s, because that's a better time to tell your kid that you murdered his grandfather 100 years prior. Okay,
that's good to know. I've got a 3-year-old, so I'm still learning some of this stuff, so I'll hold off.
Yeah, don't tell him about your hunting accidents during the Civil War until he's much older. We do see this billboard that I wrote it down. I don't know if I'm going to read it because I wrote it down, but sometimes as I'm typing these things from the show, I'm just like, why? You know, I've got a day job and a family. Why am I doing this? But that's me, and that's fine. So We cut and young Perry and the truck, they like pass this billboard and then they pass the billboard in the cop car. And the billboard says, America tells you that the only things worth knowing are those which can be known. America is wrong. Budweiser. Like, I don't know. The American beer of confusion. Like, I don't... Like,
well, they do this transition, so it's because it's young Perry looking out the window, seeing this billboard, and then it cuts back to old Perry in it. So the idea is this billboard's been here for decades. It's got no discernible advertiser, so you don't know who paid for it, who put it up, if it's just a generic thing. Yeah,
America.
But I don't know, like I took a couple minutes to think about this and try to understand like what they're trying to do here. And obviously the episode is called The Unknown. So they're trying to draw some conclusions about, the things that are worth knowing are the things that which can be known. America's wrong. But like, I don't know, like America is a very religious country that is, came out of Christianity and that kind of stuff, the belief in a God that you can't necessarily know or, prove kind of a thing. So I almost feel like this phrase is, in opposition of that. Am I thinking about it wrong?
No, I think I think the idea is like, hey, there's something out there that's like, the way you put it is not discernible. Like search for the things that you can't necessarily know. So I think it is kind of a spiritual, like look beyond the material world. Budweiser, drink enough of us, find God, America, rock flag eagle, caw-caw. Like, I don't know.
We need to, by the way, Budweiser does not sponsor this podcast, but I feel like we should record a Budweiser ad and put it in our pod.
That's fine. I will never, I'm sure I have, but I will not for the rest of this mortal life drink a Budweiser. But that's just me. No offense. I'm sure for you, those of you that love it, it's great. Half of our audience is Budweiser fans, and we just lost them. I'm sorry, Tom. It's Miller time here. All right. We're then at jail. I've got so many beer jokes. We're then at jail. It's confession time. It's Sheriff Joy and Perry, and she's like going through the details, still trying to make her whole theory work. She's like, so you carried him up the mountain by yourself. Your family didn't know. You got no help. He's like, yep, I'm very strong, and I don't leave tracks, and I know how to wipe a body down because I've been killing people since I was 9. They call me the roller rink murderer. Joy. Oh, I like how this keeps getting brought up. And to be honest, Perry is such a sad sack in my mind that I never think to ask this, but I love everyone's like, hey, by the way, since you murdered this guy, did you happen to murder Rebecca? Like, the follow-up's right. Great. His own daughter later on. It's heartbreaking. But no, he says he still doesn't know what happened to Rebecca, but he doesn't believe Rebecca is gone. He's been thinking about that billboard too. And he's like, I'm thinking about the stuff that America thinks I should know and what I don't know. And what I don't know is that Rebecca is not gone. I don't know. That sentence didn't make any sense. And then
I loved it.
I mean, I will be as confusing as Perry here. I will continue and just say, maybe nothing is ever gone. What? Sheriff Joy, follow up on that. There's like a lot of...
Yeah, that's a thread. It's a thread she kind of chases later on when she's telling Luke and Billy that kind of Perry gave herself. Like she's trying to make sense of this, and I think she is at her wit's end and is at a point where she's open to believing in, something, that more than science can explain kind of thing.
You think that's where she's at right now? Do you think she's gotten to that place where like this is not lining up with science and so something more is happening here? My thought was
I think so.
Okay. Sorry to step on you. My thought was like, hey, Perry, now's not the time to get weird. Like, now's not the time to be like, are we ever really alive? When I choked the life out of that person, did they ever really live? You're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I think what happens kind of later in this episode when you have that sequence of Joy with her family at kind of that Native American festival, and they're all singing, dancing, chanting, that stuff. She kind of like makes, and I'm probably jumping ahead here, but she kind of makes eye contact to kind of one of the older gentlemen that's kind of doing dance, and it seems like she's just kind of starting to think about like the spirituality of like the culture. And I, by no means, I don't really know any Native American culture, but like the idea of like singing and dancing for spirits and like being part of like the earth. I think that's kind of maybe where she's at right now.
Okay. The unknown outside the material. You think that's what I assumed when she made eye contact with that guy that Patricia was going to step in from out of frame and go, he killed Trevor, because she can always identify just by looking at someone who killed who. After we leave Perry and Sheriff Joy, there's a lot of silence. Silence in terms of no dialogue, but this...
Yeah, it's doing this like ominous violin music as it's kind of telling us where all of our characters are. Like this is, like we talked about before, this is the penultimate episode. This is seemingly setting up what's going to happen in the finale. And they're trying to use the beginning of this to say, okay, these are where all the characters are currently in our story. And I think it does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, it gives us a quick cut of the buffalo at the ranch, which that sentence makes me want to go out for hot wings. And then we're breakfast in the Abbott house.
This is kind of odd too. Like you got Amy coming down, sitting at the breakfast table with Brett and Royal. I think they're both in the kitchen and nobody's talking. But like Amy clearly going through a lot right now, right? Got cut on the head because her whole family was fighting. Her dad's been, hauled off to jail. Like, nobody's consoling her. I think Royal puts, like, I don't know, oatmeal or ice cream, whatever that is, on the table, like, slides it over to her.
Oh, great recall.
Yeah, I just feel like everybody's kind of being a jerk to this sweet, innocent girl.
Tom, that's just life on a ranch. I mean,
I guess so.
Just rub some dirt on it, We're not gonna... We got fence posts to fix and hail to bay wire and grass to turn into hay. I mean, I know I talk like I've been there, but I've listened to like one or two country music songs, and that's what I gather life is like. So,
okay.
My favorite one is Honky Tonk Badonkadonk, but that's neither here nor there.
That's a separate pod.
That is a separate pod and a separate therapy session, which I will not put out to the public. Autumn is smoking at the hotel. Autumn does a lot. I like that they're like, all right, tent burnt down. Let's put her on this railing so she can like the Pope from his balcony. She can lead her army. And then we have Perry sleeping in the holding cell, and he's sleeping very soundly. One would say like an innocent baby who's only murdered a few people and still plans to murder more. We go to the arraignment. We've got lawyer Mustache back. He's at the judge's. He's in conference with the judge. I love that lawyer. He's great. Bond set at $500,000, and this is big because they need to set the deed up as collateral for his bail, right?
Yeah, and like right when this happened, my wife was immediately like, "Oh, okay, so Perry's gonna be gone. Like they're not gonna find him." I think my wife even predicted him going in the hole at this point.
Really?
Yeah. Just because like it's so ominous about like they know they're gonna lose the ranch based on the fast forward that we've seen. You don't necessarily know how it's gonna happen, but it seems like the Buffalo. There's been other forces that are trying to push this away from that trial happening or the Tillersons getting it by their version of force. But right when they say this, I was like, okay, this is going to be the catalyst for them losing their ranch. I'm going to give my wife 13 internet points.
Yeah, no, she can have those, but I also have a question about the honesty of your wife and whether or not she's watched past episode 7 to episode 8. I'm not calling her a liar or a cheat, but do you think it's possible that
if the boot fits.
Do you think she knew she was going to get credit on this podcast and she went out of her way to watch the next episode just so you would mention her?
I wouldn't put it past her. I wouldn't put it past her.
That's great. That's great. Well, good for her, because I honestly, I don't know. I thought they brought this in as like a tension thing for, the leverage of, oh no, they might lose the ranch, but I didn't immediately think, oh, he's not showing up for that court date or jumping through the hole. So good on your wife. That's good. Perry gets released. I'm always interested when murderers get released and their family hugs them.
What else you gonna do? Slap
I
him across
don't
the
know.
face?
I'd be like, hey, like, didn't you hug that guy to death? Like, don't hug me. I don't know. I guess I'd be a little bit nervous if Perry's murdering hands, but that's just me. We're back at the Abbott house. Amy's in her room drawing the ranch brand in her journal over and over again, like autumn.
Should we be worried?
There's
Or is this telling us that Amy is Autumn? Autumn is Amy. A and A. This is the
we've talked about that before. I mean, it feels like it's been telegraphed so much that they either need to tell us or like get off the throwing us in that direction. But I don't know.
I just don't know the logistics of how that would work, right? Because like what we've established in the end of this episode, showing how Royal did a time jump way forward. Like Amy knows about her life from seemingly when she was born. The family knows about her life. Like I don't get how. Well, I don't know. I guess the idea I think would be that this is Autumn coming back to this time specifically, not necessarily knowing why, but she's coming back into this time to be able to like set things right for young Amy.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything needs to happen for young Amy to have.
I don't know, but she doesn't seem to be doing anything for Amy other than convincing, I guess, her father to jump through a hole. But here's my issue. Like, Dark did this so well. The TV show Dark did it so well. And, like, I don't think... listen, I'm very pro-America, but I don't think the American makers of this show should step on that German show because that German show did it right. And that German show also was like unforgiving in terms of, hey, if you don't follow, sorry, like go rewatch an episode because we're not going to dumb it down for you. Oh, Tom, Dark is so good. Dark is so good. Perry comes in. She wants to know if Perry's going to jail. He doesn't know. I thought this was like a really tender moment between like, for one thing, Perry's a really good actor and Amy's a really good actor. Like they both do a great job in this. I can't imagine as a father like having this conversation. But he like admits to, she knows what happens. He admits to being sober enough to know better. Like he shouldn't have done it. He regrets it. He should have walked away. And then just, I would have reacted probably in a worse way than Perry did if my daughter was like, hey, did you kill mom? But Amy asks him if he knows what happened to Rebecca. And it just seems like, everyone now assumes if you murder once, you probably murdered twice.
Well, that has been your assumption since about episode 1 of the show.
Yeah, I don't stop at twice. Baker's dozen, man. Baker's dozen. Then we're out in the barn. Perry's moving hay bales. They're like, hey, what manual labor can we have these characters do? Royal checks in on him. Royal's like, listen, everyone's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. Everyone's going to be fine. And Perry's like, hey, the nice thing is you and Red are off the hook. And he's kind of right. And then Royal rambles for a little bit, and then Perry interrupts him, and he's like, hey, do you know what happened to Rebecca? Which, did you see this coming? This was very much a surprise question from Perry to Royal, in my mind. Did you see this?
I feel like the conversations he's had with Autumn, like Autumn's been dropping these like nuggets of cryptic wisdom on him, which just makes him question everything about Rebecca. And I think, to your point, this is the second time somebody in the show has asked him if he knows about Rebecca. And based on all the other mystery and stuff that's kind of going on, I think at this point he just, and he kind of says it here in a second, where he asks Royal, like, hey, what happened to Rebecca? Royal's response is, like, he truly doesn't know. And then Perry, in the nicest way possible, says, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Which
he puts
I think
his hands, it's okay, he puts his hands on both his shoulders. I don't believe you. And, like, so nice about it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the idea is he just doesn't trust his father with this. He thinks that he knows more. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are. Like, Do you think Royal's telling the truth here? Like, Perry clearly doesn't believe in Royal. Perry doesn't know about the void or the hole or anything quite yet, but I don't know whether to believe in Royal at this point. Like you talked about Autumn being kind of an unreliable narrator in the last episode. I feel like we get a little bit of this with Royal too, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Royal did something to Rebecca, either I've completely missed it. It hasn't really crossed my mind. I mean, the only point of conflict I can hear is like if she was planning on leaving and she was planning on taking Amy and she was planning on breaking up the family, maybe Royal pushes her into the hole. But by all accounts, he discovers the hole with us as a
yes
in a scene in the beginning of the show. So I don't know that it makes sense for him to have thrown her in the hole and then act surprised when he knows we're watching him in a TV show. I just don't think that works.
Yeah, and maybe we'll dive into like theory stuff at the end, but I think what this episode does is it answers a lot of, I mean, obviously it asks a lot of questions too, but it answers a lot of questions in terms of like how the hole appeared initially, like the fact that the hole will disappear. So seemingly like it appears for somebody in a time of need, like it appeared for Royal when he was running away. Maybe this hole appeared for Perry this entire time, and it was just waiting for him to go into it. It was like his hole.
I like it.
Because once he goes in, then it just goes away. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting ideas at play here. That's why I've enjoyed this episode more so than the others, because I think I did a really good job of setting up what's going to happen in the finale. But there's still a lot to be answered in the finale, so we'll see.
Sure. We're back at the Tillerson house, as we always should be. Luke is mad at Sheriff Joy because she's trying to explain that, Perry fessed up, and at this point we're just investigating Perry. Luke's like, I don't believe Perry did it alone. There was a shooter on the grassy knoll. And he's like, what about the part where he was alive for several days? They had to have kept him alive for several days, which is a really, that's pretty grotesque in terms of, so you think the Abbotts just, had him in a cage on their ranch?
That's what I thought.
That'd throw him on a body, or throw him on the mountain in the West Pasture?
Because that would have been the only logical explanation that, that Joy could discern if that was really the case, if he should have done that much later.
So you're talking science again, Tom, and that's what America wants you to know. They want you to think about the known, not the unknown. What's beyond the
America's
curtain.
wrong.
America's wrong. Is that what that billboard ended with? America's wrong? Because if that's, I don't think those
definitely not Budweiser.
American.
It's Heineken.
Oh, incredible! Oh, incredible! Oh, I'm so glad I heard you say that.
The Germans, they make better time travel shows and they make better beer.
Better beer. Oh, man. I will go on. I am not in Heineken's corner. Tom might be, but I am not. Anyways, Billy breaks into this conversation as only Billy can. And I only regret that Billy doesn't sing this line. But he's like, I think Trevor went to an uncreated part of the world.
We've got a new... This is a new, very zen version of Billy. He's sitting there drinking his coffee or whatever he was drinking on the couch. Very cool, calm, and collected. It seems like I think actually, I never thought about this, but we know he'd been introduced to the hole from the previous episode from Autumn. But I think at this point he had already snuffed, or not snuffed, but he ate the time travel rock stuff. So he has this worldview. That's what I thought he was going to do with it.
Right. He thought he was going to do a line of magic rock. Sure. Yeah. I guess trigger warning for any of you that are hooked on cocaine. Tom, you're very brave to talk about this. Go ahead.
Yep. Just getting off the lightning. But I think this is Billy, seemingly... for the first time, seems very sure of himself and sure of the path forward here, and kind of is positioning himself with not only Sheriff Joy but with his brother here later about showing him the hole.
Well, I also feel like Billy doesn't have a self-conscious bone in his body. So for him to sit in a room with the sheriff and his brother talking about his murdered brother, for him to be like, I think Trevor went to some uncreated part of the world, and also singing at that brother's funeral, I just don't think Billy has a real, self-aware bone. That's kind of where I'm at with Billy.
That's fair.
And he was probably drinking Magic Rock in that cup. Joy tries to convince Luke that she's still doing the investigating. And Billy starts talking about his dad, telling him, he's like, hey, when he was younger, he saw something impossible, something terrifying. It was a hole in the world. And to your point, Sheriff Joy locks in on this. To me, if I'm in this room, I politely ignore the rambling gentleman on the couch who sang at the funeral. But Sheriff Joy, on this one, she doesn't follow up with Perry, the murderer. But on this one, she's like, Billy, what do you mean? And Luke's just not having any of it, which is great. But then Billy's like, I need to speak with my brother now alone. And Sheriff Joy's like, okay, have fun singing together. And then they drive out. Listen, has anyone looked cooler on a quad wearing sunglasses and a hat than Billy and Luke? Name me, Tom, I'll give you time. Name me 3 other people that have looked cooler than those two as they ride around on a quad. With a hat.
I don't know famous quad people.
I don't know famous quad people. You could just say the bad guys we've already talked about. The bad guys in that one Jurassic Park where they're all driving around on vehicles.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Let's go with those ones.
All right. Good answer, Tom. I'm glad I could have this conversation with myself. As they're driving, Billy quotes Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, which is not the last or first time we have heard this song or had this song referenced during the show. And honestly,
it's a bummer he's quoting it, right? He needs to
be singing it. What's interesting is on my Spotify playlist, I don't know who the artist is, but I think she's a country music singer. She covers this song. And so it's on a playlist that I listen to often. So to me, unfortunately, it's not necessarily a Fleetwood Mac song. I'm more probably used to the more modern version, but it is a great song. And that leads.
Did you pick up anything from the lyrics?
Yeah, Tom.
Was there anything that
I was just going to segue to that? Do you have any dreams that you'd like to sell me? That is my question to you.
You couldn't afford my dreams.
All right. Well, negotiating, that's fine. Let's start with a number. Anyways. They drive out to the hole. No one reacts to seeing this hole in a normal way. I just want to say this. There's something, and maybe it's a lack of graphics for the show, but Tom, I drive you out and there's a hole with some weird smoke on it. You'd be like, oh, is there a gas leak? Is there you'd ask questions, right? Luke turns to camera and it looks like he's been weeping, right? It looks like he's I don't know. Does anyone Perry's the only one that reacts to this hole in the right way because he throws himself into it immediately. But seriously,
I don't know.
We've talked about this, but you pull up to this hole, don't you have questions? Or do you just have, everyone seems to have an emotional reaction to it?
Well, maybe there's I don't know, with Autumn, she seems to be pulled towards the void, some unspeakable something is bringing her or drawing her to it. So maybe just being in the presence of that, it makes you feel something. I feel from Luke's perspective too, when he first walks up to the hole or the void, he just kind of he's rubbing his chin, kind of scratches his head a little bit. And I'm like, man, you need a little bit more to that. So to your point, when he turns and actually looks at camera, he's his eyes are red. And I'm sure he asked Billy 1,000 questions after this, or at least hope he would, because of the psychosis of his dad, or at least what they thought was psychosis of him saying that there was a hole. He definitely, it hit him. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what the right way is to react to a giant hole, but yeah. He tried his best.
Okay.
That's all we can do.
I mean, I could go through the right way to react to it, but I think we've already litigated this. I do also think a part of me was like, wait, does Luke have bad allergies to the hole? Because his eyes look all red and puffy. I was like, oh no, man, take some allergy medicine. You'll feel better in the morning. But don't do it while riding those quads, because it specifically says winking, drinking. What's the thing on the prescription bottle?
Suggestion.
She took that to mean as a drinking, winking suggestion. Oh, Lucille Bluth, you left us too soon. Oh, all right,
true.
we're back at town. Autumn's on the phone. I think she says something like, "Don't call me that, Mom," and then she hangs up. She screams at someone who has the right of way. She's like, "I'm walking here," and then she screams at him.
It was very Back to the Future.
She is very upset, and then she goes into the bar. Everything always happens at the bar. Rhett, Perry, and Royal all sit in the same bar stool, I believe. Maybe we haven't seen Royal there, but Perry and Rhett all sit in the same bar stool. They have never brought it around to the gentleman that says something to her when, what was his name?
Cupcake or something?
We've never been introduced to Cupcake. We just know that's his name. She asks about Perry and Royal. Rhett's like, oh, Perry was arrested for the murder of Trevor. And she's like, it wasn't him. Perry's going to be okay. And then, did you get the red light effect that happened during this scene? Like, they turn her red. Oh, it was like...
Oh, I didn't notice it.
So like, obviously, Imogen Poots is like... I mean, she does a great job in this role. But, like, they look at her, and then there's something about the lighting. They, like, turn the red up on it. And she goes, like, as she's, like, backing away and, like, turning away and, like, giving her polite goodbye to Red. They turn her red.
Is it like, because they did a little filter when she was showing Billy the void, where it kind of like was reddish, pink, orange, something like that? Was it the same hue?
With the color. Yeah, kind of. Although I felt like they took a red neon light and just turned it up on her.
Okay. I must have missed it. But yeah, I do like Rhett, like as she's leaving, gives her a polite, forget you as she leaves. Like he's just completely done with her, and she doesn't acknowledge it. She just goes, leaves, and he's just sitting there with his ice cold Budweiser.
Ice cold Budweiser.
And his thoughts.
What he knows, what America knows, that Budweiser. And then,
hey, I had a question
Yeah,
while we're talking about Rhett here. Are we gonna get the rodeo finals with our boy Rhett? Are they gonna have time in this finale to give us the rodeo finals?
Listen, I'm going to say this, and you're going to think I've already watched episode 8, because I'm going to lay it out for you. But what's going to happen is, in order for the hole to reopen up, for Perry to come back, for Rebecca to come back, for Trevor to come back alive, Rhett is going to have to ride a perfect ride. He is going to have to score the 365 that all bull riders have to get in order to score a perfect, I think they call it a turkey. It's when you do 3 bull rides in a row and you get 365 every time. And that's like, they're going to play some sweet, like weird tuning violin music while he rides. Everyone's going to be in the stands. I don't know if you know this, but we're essentially watching a sports movie. And
Disguised as a sci-fi western.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Kurt Russell to come out and give us the Miracle speech. I don't even remember if there was a speech in Miracle, but it is what it is. So yes,
you should write TV shows. You should write TV shows.
No, I should not. I shouldn't write anything.
By the way,
if one thing's proven to me,
you're
I
going
should
on
write
this.
anything.
You're going on this rambling diatribe, which is fantastic and hilarious. I always think about that in shows. If a show tries to be like crazy serious for like the first couple episodes and then just goes completely bananas off the wall for no reason whatsoever, I think that would be fantastic. So I would be on board if that happens.
The issue with nowadays is like you could never, like the surprise would be ruined by the first person that watched it, where they're like, hey, did you watch episode 8? I can't believe you got a turkey at the bull riding. No one's ever done a 180 or whatever 365 is times 3. I don't know. We're at the diner with Sheriff Joy and her family. We come back. I was telling you this at the top, Tom, before we started recording. Frank from the Chambers of Commerce is the only character I want to follow. I want to go to his house. I want to find out what's happening there. Like, give me that TV show. And give me the show where the guy doesn't know that he's interrupting a nice family meal and he's like talking about mastodons and evil teenagers. Like, what? And so finally Sheriff Joy, because he's nice enough to be like, hey, your mom's gonna win the election, I guarantee it. And
she's gonna beat the beans out of that guy.
Yeah, thank you. And Sheriff Joy's like, oh, well, he said something nice. Hey, Frank, I'm gonna come by your place and check out those mastodons and evil teenagers. And I've got a lot of questions, so this is the only reason I'm going to watch episode 8 is to find out what Sheriff Joy finds out at the Frank Chambers of Commerce ranch. I'm assuming it's just going to be a bunch of crows eating elephants. I don't know. The Abbott Ranch. We're back at the Abbott Ranch. Cece drives over to Dead Baby Bear Cabin. Say that again. The TBBC. CC at the DBBC. The C is gone, and by C I mean the cub. The cub's gone, and I had this thought, Tom. And obviously you know I don't do drugs, but if I did, this is the thought I would have had. Maybe, you know when she makes the bear bite her hand? Like she forces her hand? I thought for a second, you know what? Maybe she knows that her blood has life-giving properties, and like in like a vampire movie where like the hero vampire, what's the guy from Tenet? From the vampire movies.
Tom Cruise,
Robertson.
Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, Robert Pattinson. Robertson. Yeah, you mix
Twilight.
them together. Twilight. I'm sure at some point in those shows he's dying and they have to like drip blood into his mouth. Sorry, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is dying and they have to drip blood into his mouth. I thought maybe Cece at the DBBC knows that DB needs B, and so she forces the B
Type O,
thank you, to take a drink of her AB positive, and that has resurrecting property. And I had this thought for a hot second, and then I thought, I don't do drugs. That's a really dumb idea. Mean,
okay, let me stop you. I appreciate that that idea because I still, for the life of me, can't make sense of this whole biting the blood and what she's going for here. Like, does she feel like she needs to... Okay.
You're right. You're on the right track. Finish your thought. Okay. You're going there.
She feels like she needs to, like, almost punish herself to a point for this and fighting this bear because she feels partially responsible for the cub, dying on her land.
Yep. I think it is the amount of guilt she feels. It is like a self-mutilation exercise where she used the DB to be her H. And
we should do the rest of this pod in acronyms or just letters.
It would be so much quicker. It out. So much quicker.
I would argue you explaining all this is making it longer.
So good. That's so good. ASAP.
Oh, man.
All right. And I wrote nope in the outline because as soon as I had this thought, they flashed to the baby grizzly. The mama grizzly standing over the baby bear. And I was like, oh, yeah, the baby bear didn't make it. And then we get into probably the best scene of the whole show, the most realistic scene of the whole show, certainly. Cece runs to her car, and I was like, okay, cool. She's going to get in the car so the bear can't get her. And nope, that's not what happens. Tom, what happens?
I like how she sees the bear and then starts doing like a brisk walk, just casual. I'm just going to hum. I'm going to head to my car, and then immediately jumps into a big sprint to jump into her car. But I'm with you. I thought she was going to lock herself in this car for safety, take off, whatever. But nope, like a true American, she reaches for a shotgun and starts shooting.
She starts shooting. And that bear goes down very quickly. Very quickly. I have questions about what's in that shotgun. And Tom, as a shotgun shooter yourself, did you catch anything? Did you catch anything during this scene that you felt like was out of place? Your keen eye for clay shooting or sporting.
Listen, I've gone clay shooting. I am not great, but I feel like I'd have a better chance at this because this is an 800-pound bear that's 2 feet from me instead of a 3-inch disc that's flying, 800 yards seemingly away from me.
Listen, I hope she had slugs in that thing. Otherwise, she's shooting it with, I guess, a shotgun shell, and that bear is probably going to murder her. But
they were hollow point slugs.
But, Tom, what I was getting at is when she racks it, no shell flies out. But that's neither here nor there. That's probably the smallest nitpick of the show someone can find. The bear goes down, and then we see, once again, they bring back Cartoon Bear. Cartoon Bear gets back up and slowly walks away, and then Cece gets up and shoots Cartoon Bear in the face.
Now, hold on.
Go ahead.
Before we go on, where does Cartoon Bear get shot? Very specifically, the first shot.
In the chest.
Yeah, kind of upper left part of the chest, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Just I'm gonna pin that. I'm gonna come back to that pin later.
You're gonna put several BBs in that.
Yep.
In that spot. That's
in
good.
That upper left chest wound.
Tom, we're gonna go back. Upper left chest wound. That's good. Now we're gonna go back to bear defense, Tom. As the guy that went through bear defense last episode, walk us through from when she leaves the shack and she realizes there's a grizzly. She recognizes it's a brown bear, so it's a grizzly, and they're in the right area for it to be a grizzly. What was she supposed to do in this situation?
Well, grizzlies, brown bears, we decided that you were supposed to do what Autumn did and just play dead, get into a ball, lay on your stomach. However, that is if you do not have a shotgun in your truck that's 10 yards away. Okay. So running to your truck to get self-defense, I think, is probably a fair defensive maneuver.
Okay. That's wrong. The correct answer is get in the Suburban and drive over the bear multiple times like you're in Grand Theft Auto. That's the right answer.
Okay.
We're probably going to have to cut that out because of all the bear lovers. That was a joke for the record. We're leaving it in now. Go ahead, Tom.
I thought you were just going to turn around and go back into the BBC or the DBBC, excuse me.
Yeah, maybe a better choice.
I feel like, yeah, that would have provided, I don't know, longevity, how much you could have lasted in there. If you got a mama grizzly that really wants to take you out, maybe she knew the integrity of the DBBC wasn't up to code.
Right.
So she realized she had to go for the shotgun. I don't know.
It was a C- DDBC. I would have gotten in the car and turned on the radio and listened to Running Up the Hill by Kate something. I can't believe I didn't come up with the last name for that bit. Anyways, the bear's dead, and long live the bear. I Only Have Eyes for You plays by the Flamingos. Oh, we've cut to the... Sorry. Bear's dead. We're back at the hotel.
Good transition.
Yeah.
You want to try that again?
Transition. No, not really. Then we're at the hotel. We've got Autumn standing at the Pope's balcony. I Only Have Eyes for You plays by the Flamingos as she stares down at one William Tillerson, a.k.a. Billy the Singer. He's pining for Autumn from the parking lot of the hotel, standing next to his truck and his cowboy hat. Whew, he looks good. He looks good.
The way this music is playing, too, because this is like the old, I don't know when the song was made, the 60s or something, and it's got like the shabop shabop kind of noises going, and like right when it plays that, like it's getting like these lovey-dovey vibes between them, and it keeps playing throughout this like these silences in their little conversation they're going to have there, and it made me laugh every time.
Yeah. They were like, no one's going to believe these two are falling in love unless we hit them in the face with this weird 60s music, 40s music, whatever. Yeah. So here it is. I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos. We find out during the course of this conversation that Billy crushed up the magic stone that he took from his father, ate the dust because that's what someone does, and then he saw the future where Autumn was the leader of all Mother Earth and he was by her side, and I quote, "It was super cool." And I quote, "It was super cool." Incredible.
And he does all of this wearing his Winona Judd shirt, which was also fantastic. We already tried to figure out what other shirt he was wearing with the other country singer on it, and it was very much in the same vein, but this was a different shirt.
Oh, it was a different shirt. I was going to say, did you
Yes.
solve the case? Was it a Winona Judd?
Unless it's another Winona Judd shirt. I think it's different, though.
It could have been the other Judd sister. There's Winona and the other Judd.
The other Judd? Are there multiple
Judd
Judds? Are there three
sisters.
Judds?
The Judd family is country music royalty, Tom. And this is the Judd Music Corner, where I'm going to tell you all about. I'm going to start at the W's and work my way to the Z's of all the Judds. I don't have anything more to say about that.
I don't know country music very well.
Clearly, you didn't know who sang the Shabop Shabop song that plays during this scene, classic country music. She asked Billy to stop Royal, and Billy is super committed because as any young man who only has eyes for a young woman, he is committed to doing whatever she says, and they start to kiss, and listen.
Is it kissing?
I thought that maybe she was trying to find some magic dust on his tongue. She's like, I don't know when he ate this rock, but I'm going to scour his tongue for said rock. It made me uncomfortable, mainly because they're unmarried, and gross kissing should only happen between people that are married. But, man, the show really loved this scene, didn't it? Like,
It did all these like weird zoom cuts from like different angles. I really wanted to get that tongue action going. It was upsetting.
all I know is that when this show wins its, I don't know, what are TV show awards? Golden
MTV
Globe?
Movie Awards Best Kiss.
When this wins its MTV Movie Award Best Kiss, they are going to play this scene. Oh, Tom, your joke was better than where I was going. I love it. I love it so much. Oh, that's good.
Take it away from Tobey Maguire.
Oh, take it away from Tobey Maguire. Oh, shout out to that guy. He did great in that Spider-Man movie. It's good to see Tobey Maguire when he's not riding around on Seabiscuit. Anyways. And then we get the age-old love-making scene. And by love-making scene, I mean when one person cuts a symbol into another person very slowly and delicately with a dull, rusty knife. Man, these kids are in love, right? These crazy kids.
I got a question.
Oh, go
Again,
ahead. Yeah, I've got answers for you.
Yeah. Very impressive again with Autumn's incredible ability to draw circles on people.
She's
with
been
a
drawing
knife.
it since she's been Amy, you know? She's been drawing it for years.
I guess that's true. What is your thought here with Billy? We've already kind of talked that Billy is very susceptible. He's very, I don't know, like when he goes forward, we don't know exactly what he sees, right? He opines on what he sees. He says it's whatever. But like, do you think that you would react similarly? Like if you truly saw the future and believe you saw it, and you saw this void, and you are trying to make sense of it all. Do you think you would kind of go like full bore, like cult level status with Autumn here and be like, I will do anything for you?
No. Tom, I think
No.
I mean, very quickly, no. I think there are people that their personality allows them to join cults, and they like thrive in that environment, and they're looking for a leader, and they're looking to join. And then there's people like me that, oh man, they just wish they could buy in and drink the Kool-Aid, but their skeptical mind will not allow them and makes believing very difficult. So they have to fight through. They have to fight through the reasonableness in their mind. We'll just say that in order to believe in the, we'll say, miraculous.
I mean, it's fun being a member of a cult, but there's more money in being a leader.
Thank you, Creed Bratton. Nice of you to show up. Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, I mean, I could ask you the same question, but I know you, and you would not. You are a critical thinker, so even if you saw it, you would have questions. It would need to make sense to you. You'd need to see the science. I don't want to answer this question for you, but tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're wrong, because I would join Autumn in a heartbeat.
Well, Tom, I got a pamphlet for you once we're done with this. Oh, man. Yeah, so very quickly, I do appreciate that this episode, they kind of click through these beats. It's like, rather than the slow burn of when is Billy going to stop Royal, it's like, nope, he's already removed a hose from the radiator, and Royal's going to break down on the road. And he breaks down under the same billboard about knowing things, Budweiser. Billy picks him up. He's like, Billy, I don't want to ride in a car with you because you're weird and you sing at funerals. Those weren't his words. Those were my words. But it's tough to argue. I have found this in my life that, like, there's been decisions like, you know, when they pass you that drug and they're like, hey, man, it's not going to hurt you. And I'm like, no, I'm a good person. I'm not going to do that drug. Or when they're like, you know, don't, I don't know, murder that person in cold blood. But then the gang member says to you, the gang leader, obviously, when you're trying to get into the gang, it's the gang leader. He says to you, don't be a silly goose. And then you're just forced to do it. That's exactly what happened to Royal in this situation. Royal's like, Billy, I don't want to get in the car with you. You can't argue with don't be a silly goose, right? Don't be
There's
a silly
just no
goose
comeback
now.
from it.
Yeah,
don't be a silly goose. Boom, I'm in.
Yeah,
that's what Autumn should have led. She should have led with, instead of trying to give Billy some sort of dust to eat, just say, hey, Billy, stop being a silly goose. Join my cult.
Join my cult. Oh, man.
They made t-shirts.
What's good for the silly goose is good for the gander. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
Royal succumbed to not wanting to be a silly goose because that's just embarrassing. Gets in the car with weirdo Billy. Billy, of course, makes normal conversation, and he says things like, hey, do you believe in God? And Royal's response is, I don't know what God is.
Now, okay, I feel like
That was great.
Like, this is tying into the billboard, right? Because Billy's response then is, you don't have to know what something is to believe in it.
Yeah, they're hitting us in the face with the billboard. Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like that idea. So, okay. Just want to make sure I didn't fully miss that.
No, you're right. And it's kind of like, hey, Royal, I mean, can you believe in things that are unseen? And Royal, despite being thrown through a hole and coming back 100 years later, has real trouble with the supernatural. And he's like, Billy's like, do you think it's the end, the beginning? And then Royal looks confused. He's like, the hole. And that's when Royal finds out that Autumn told Billy about the hole. Mm-hmm. And that's when Billy then pulls out a very beautiful looking pistol.
What is this pistol, Julian?
I thought it was, I mean, it looks like a 1911, but it's probably not. It's probably some sort of Kimber. But we don't need to go into those things. Because very quickly, that Kimber, that 1911, takes us back to the roller rink, which looks to be in great shape. Business is booming in roller rink town.
I love the scattered roller skates just all over the roller rink. Like, whoever sold it didn't even want to, like, try to resell those. They're just sitting everywhere.
Right.
It's just it's just building the scene, obviously, but I thought it was comical the way they dressed it.
Yeah, you'd think teenagers would have gone in there and be like, hey, these fit me. I'm going to take these. Like,
these are dope.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll around on these roller skates. Don't be a silly goose. Steal those roller skates. Billy holds Royal at gunpoint, and he makes him apologize for trying to kill Autumn. That's what he gets to. And Royal assumes he's there about his brother, right? He assumes it's like he's there as revenge for what happened to the Big T. But we very quickly, because Royal's not on the same page as us, the audience, Billy is holding him accountable for what he tried to do to Autumn. What did he try to do to Autumn, Tom?
Like, I don't know. Like, do you think he kind of, like, I don't know. We talked about this a little bit in the last episode. I don't think he really left her for dead. Like, she was somewhere on his land. I think he knows his land well enough to know, yeah, there's bears, there's animals and stuff that she is not in great shape. But to say left her for dead, I think is a step too far. Like, he threatened to kill her if he continued to mess with his family and that kind of piece. But yeah, I don't know if he really did leave her for dead. He admits to it here, but, you know, he's at gunpoint.
Yeah, you could argue, like, him flinging her off the quad was attempted murder, but really was it? I mean, we see this guy murder later. I mean, he knows how to murder. He's not going to leave the job unfinished. So yeah, I'm with you. But we see what Billy's getting at. And ultimately, Billy's like, you don't know what she is. She's going to change the world. And then he starts to, I think, counting down at this point. And Royal's like, well, this guy knows how to count, so I'm going to apologize. I don't think it was a real apology, Tom. It felt forced. As like, and I don't want to go into our personal lives. You're married, I'm married. Like, when you force your spouse at gunpoint to apologize for something, do you feel like that's a forced apology, or do you feel like that's a real apology?
It's real.
Okay.
It's gotta be real.
Okay, you do feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah.
And also, we don't condone domestic violence, so that was a joke. Oh,
It was a joke.
Please don't write us
Humor.
letters. Oh, no.
But the way Royal handles this, like, he screams everything multiple times. Like, I'm sorry for everything. And I do feel like some of this was a bit cathartic for Royal. Like, he's maybe not specifically sorry for what Billy's trying to get him to apologize for, but I think he's using this moment to, like, say, I'm sorry for everything that I put my family through. Because at this point, he's realizing he did not approach this entire process correctly with telling his family about the void,
Sure.
hiding a body, throwing a
made
body
some
in the
mistakes.
void. Yeah, so I think this is a bit of him just saying, like, yeah, I am sorry for everything that I've done, but not to you, Billy, to my family.
Did it remind you a little bit of his prayer where he's screaming, there's a great void? Like, where are you, God? Please help us. I got the same thought. But Billy tells him to leave Autumn alone, and he doesn't kill him. I did like this scene. Like, it's well acted. The guy that plays Billy was great. I mean, Brolin's great in it. It's menacing. It's like, I'm assuming as soon as they walked out of this roller rink, the people from Stranger Things walked in and were like, hey, we're going to film here too. Just the way it was lit made me think of the same thing. But no one leaves a room like Billy. And so Billy leaves this scene by saying, and I quote, I think something bad is going to happen to your granddaughter. And scene.
Is he saying that as like a threat? Like, hey, if you keep messing with Autumn, I will hurt your granddaughter? Or is it because he saw the future and he saw something happen to his granddaughter?
I think, and I don't know how this works, I think the latter, which is, I think he saw something in the vision that made him think about Amy. I don't think he himself. That's a strange way to put it. I think something bad is going to happen to your daughter, as opposed to, hey, if you don't leave Autumn alone, I'm going to do something to your granddaughter. So yeah, I'm with you. I think when he was all hopped up on that sweet magic meteor rock, he saw something bad happen. Which I don't appreciate the show doing, because they then cut to the ice cream shop with Perry and Amy. And I'm like, dear God, don't do something to Amy. She's the only redeemable character in the show.
Right.
Not redeemable. There's plenty of good characters in the show.
Yeah.
But it's Perry and Amy getting some ice cream. Where are they at, Tom?
They're apparently at Dippy's, but this is very clearly a Dairy Queen, or a Dairy Queen that is no longer in business. It got bought out by a Dippy's, but it had like the exact insignia and logo of the DQ.
Man, is there? I don't know if there's anything. Let me just riff for a second, Tom. There is nothing worse than going through like one of those towns where like everything used to be a mom and pop shop, and then there's a Dippy on every corner. There's a Dippy selling their large lattes, and the people are all lined up to buy it. Golly, corporate Dippy is just ruining what is right and true about America. Bring back Dairy Queen.
Agreed.
I mean,
Yeah.
Mr. Queen was a good man, and now he's being bought up by all the Dippies. Drives me crazy. Dippy makes me just think that all they sell is cones dipped in, when they do the dip cones.
Oh yeah, I love them. I
Oh,
love
man.
them. I used to get them
Did
all the
you
time
know
when I was
you
a
can
kid.
get that magic shell stuff for your house? You can shoot it on ice cream and it forms into a shell. Did you know that
I
exists?
think I did do that when I was a youth. Yeah, I got like the Reese's version of it, which was like, I don't know, that Reese's candy shell. So good.
Oh, cool. You did it as a youth. Yeah, I didn't recently discover it as an adult.
I did it tonight.
I wasn't deprived. Anyways, this was probably my I just read your note in the outline. I'll get there. Oh, man. Good for you, Tom. This was probably the best moment of the episode for me in terms of just like acting flexing. It's Autumn in the restroom of the ice cream shop. Coincidentally, Dippy's. She's in the restroom of Dippy's. And she's getting ready seemingly for a rap battle. And Tom, I'll step away.
Watching the sequence, she's kind of doing this bobbing back and forth, staring at herself, like looking into her own soul. My assumption was she's going to spit on this mirror. She's hyping herself up, man. This is what you do. When you're hyping yourself up, you realize that you're a bad person,
goodness.
You spit in the mirror, and you tell yourself, hey, be a better person.
Be a better person. You're in a red blazer that looks like you're a usher at a Price is Right taping. For those of you that haven't been with us, spitting on a mirror is a Ted Lasso season 2 thing that I don't think Tom and I will ever get over. Anyways, Imogen Poots, give her whatever award. She does a great job here. Like, she's staring. I don't know how it is for an actor, but she's essentially staring down the barrel of the camera, which is her looking into a mirror, and she gives the speech. And I wrote it down once again. I don't regret writing this one down, though. This one felt like it was necessary.
Are you going to give us the Imogen Poots?
I don't think I can do an Imogen
force.
Poots. No, I can't. So I'm just going to say what she says because I don't have her same energy.
Can you do it in your Kermit voice?
Kermit, Tom, I hate you. I love
do it in
you.
your Josh Brolin voice.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. That's 7 times. I insulted you. I came back with 7 times. So there, it's equal. All right. Here's what she says.
I forgive you none.
Thank you. She says, somewhere on this land, there is an altar, and I will build it. Somewhere in the future, there is a portal to the past, and I will own it. Somewhere in your heart, there is a hole, and I will fill it. I am the mother of undying time, and I will usher her into the world with power and love and justice as the gatekeeper to the unknown. And I will be your shepherd in the night. F word, F word, F word. F word,
Bravo.
F word,
Good
F word.
finish.
She does a great job. And I was like, what? I started Googling this thinking this was like either from scripture or quote or something. Nope. It's just the show pulling out all of their Juilliard playwright isms. And they're like, we're going to let her give a speech in a Dippy's bathroom where no one can hear her but the audience. Oh,
it was great. It was a good speech. It was very powerful. And like, do you think this is her just getting kind of a God complex? Like, because she, I don't know. Like, Billy has seemingly just kind of confirmed what she has been thinking this whole time, because we've talked about her thinking she's destined for something, but she doesn't know what she's destined for. And now Billy's kind of laid this out in front of her. Now she's drinking her own Kool-Aid, if you will.
Yep. No, I think anyone that runs a cult at a certain point probably has this moment where, like, you know what? I can do it. I am the person. Like, this is it. And, like, she says this whole thing, and when she gets to the, like, F word, she's like, it's like her realizing she can do it. Like, she's like, oh, like, This is it. This is it. I've got it. And then she kicks down that.
I think she even says that. At the end, she's like, yeah, F word, F word, F word. And then she's like, yes, yes. She also does a couple of those, like, under her breath. Like, yeah, she's found her, I don't know, her battle cry for her soon-to-be lackeys.
Sure. She kicks down the door to the restroom of the Dippies. She's like, hey, get me a twist cone in Reese's magic shell. And then she finds Perry. Coincidentally, they're all in the same place. She's like, Perry, there's something you need to know about your father. And then they bounce. And I didn't see it coming that she was going to show him the hole, but she did. We're then at the Native American festival. There's a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, a lot of chanting. I like the guy on the MC on the mic. He's like, and now for our literal dancers, you get out there. And there's like adorable kids doing their dances. And then Joy, as you mentioned, she's like, makes eye contact with one of the dancers. Like, something's going on here. And she just knows, they have a conversation. Her and Martha have a conversation where she's like, there's something missing with this case. Because Martha's like, you did it. You got him. And she's like, no, there's something missing. So
she's got the mission accomplished banner behind her, but she knows there's something else kind of going on. And I think, I don't know exactly kind of what's going on here, but this is a long scene. It's a long sequence, and I think it's very beautifully shot and very interesting. But I love the way that it keeps kind of focusing in on Joy and just getting closer and closer and she's trying to make sense of this, and something that happens there. Something is kind of like the catalyst for her to kind of. We already knew she's going to go to Frank's ranch, but I think she's now kind of open potentially to the idea of, some timey-wimey stuff going on.
Ugh. Oh, it's been over an hour and we finally said it. Thank goodness. We're then back at the Tillerson Ranch. Luke is in with comatose Wayne. He very sweetly gets on the bed, hugs Wayne Tillerson. Billy walks into the room and can't stand to see his father receiving affection from his brother. He's just consumed with jealousy, and he says, "Luke, you don't hug my dad like that." That's how I interpreted this scene. Did you interpret this scene differently?
I don't know what Luke is doing here. Clearly, he's trying to.
Well, he's holding a pillow over his father's face.
I mean, he's trying to put his father to sleep, but I don't get Luke's motive here. Like, what's he doing? He seemingly just got proof of, when we talked about this earlier, of like he thought his dad was crazy. He talked about this void and this hole for the longest time, and now he gets proof of it. Does he see the dollar signs and he just wants to now take advantage of this land and whatever this hole can bring? Why does he choose to, at this moment, kill his father?
Good point. I think you nailed it. I think he sees dollar signs. He thinks to himself, okay, I have a infinite hole, so I can charge whatever government I want for them to put all of their nuclear waste through this hole, all of their solid waste, all of their liquid waste. He's like, I'm going to charge them by the gallon, the ton, doesn't matter. All he's seeing is dollar signs. And he thinks, if I can drown this gentleman in feathered down pillows, then as soon as he's gone, I can do the same to Billy. And as long as he does the same...
Can we agree on one thing, though? If it's a feathered pillow, it's owl feathered pillow?
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Everyone knows owls have the softest of feathers. And so, yes, that's exactly what he's seeing. He sees it as much like Mr. Waste Management, the owner of Waste Management, the company.
John Management,
thank you. He sees dollar signs. So, no, I have no idea why he's trying to murder his dad, other than it seems to me this whole makes the Tillerson family crazy because he wants to do it. Billy pulls him off. My favorite thing is when Luke is on top of Billy and he's like, has his fist in his mouth, and he's like, why don't you sing?
Yeah. Well, he keeps repeatedly asking him why he sings, which I feel like at this point Luke is like a surrogate for the audience here. We don't understand why he's constantly singing all these things, and it's driving Luke crazy, as it probably has some of the audience.
It brings
him
joy, Luke. It's not hard to figure out. Billy's got a great voice and he loves to sing. Boom. If I had a great voice, I'd sing too. Does Wayne wake up? Does this cause him to wake up? Are we supposed to, or is he still comatose?
I don't know. I feel like Wayne's his eyes have been open. He's still kind of there, but he's not just in a coma. I don't think. He just kind of seems. I mean, I don't know what a medical term is, but yeah, he's definitely moving and breathing. Once he's no longer has a pillow over his face.
Yeah, moving and breathing is the medical term. That guy's.
But he probably is, right? Because the idea of him being more prominent for the finale would make some sort of sense. Him miraculously getting out of bed and confronting some character in some way.
Yeah, him and his sons are all going to do lines of magical rock off dead owls' feathers. That's how episode 8 ends. We're at Frank's house, and this is where I want to be every day of my life, figuring out what is happening at Frank's house. Joy pays a visit. She's walking around. I don't know if you noticed this, but in the rocks is a Abbott Ranch symbol. It's carved in the stone.
It is.
It looks like the Star Trek badge symbol.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, sir, you can.
If I may, is this the Abbott Ranch symbol, or did the Abbott Ranch take this symbol because they found it or saw it somewhere else? I feel like this symbol has more to do with the time travel, the void, than it does specifically the Abbott family. It's older than the Abbott family.
Tom, I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to go back to probably the phrase I'm most known for. I don't know. I don't know.
It's weird.
I don't have any idea. I don't know. There's this weird dark crack trail of magic time dust that she's following. Did you...
At first, I thought it was like a seismic crack, like it was literally a crack in the earth. But on second watch, I do feel like it was probably the mineral, like the dust, timey-wimey mineral.
Okay.
I don't know. What did you think?
I thought it was caviar. Just black caviar in piles flowing. I mean, that's probably...
You know how Frank rolls.
Yeah, that's where the money is. They're like, if we can harvest this caviar crack. That doesn't sound right. Anyways, Royal walks home because Royal's never asked for help for a day in his life. People stopped and were like, "Hey, Royal Abbott, we know who you are. Would you like a ride?" The school bus drove by, and they're like, "Hey, do you want us to drive you by your house and then drop you off so you could walk backwards?" And he said no to all of them. Perry, as soon as he gets home, Perry's like, "Oh, this guy walked all the way from the Royal Rink." He's like, "Let's go for a ride." So they hop on horses, and they ride out to the hole. And at the hole, this is where Royal decides to tell his son. He's like, "Hey, remember when you were 9 and you beat that kid to death and I almost told you a story? Well, guess what? I'm going to finish the story." And so we get this flashback of Royal as a young boy hunting with his dad. He sees a beautiful, it's either a deer or an elk, I can't remember. And then instead of shooting said elk, he shoots his dad, which is a terrible accident.
And I mean, I don't know. Dad probably didn't do a great job of teaching his son how to shoot. I feel like when young Royal is trying to hold up this gun, it's barely even hold it up.
Sure.
So to separate yourself from your son is probably not the greatest of hunting. I don't know. I don't hunt a lot. When I do, generally it becomes camping trips.
Yeah, we're not very
But
successful.
I don't know. You hunt more. Is this a wise way to teach a youth how to hunt? Granted, this was late 1800s, so...
Well, it led in the
It was
death
different.
of the father, so I would say no. It was not the wise way of teaching him.
Well, his father was wearing his antler hat too, which I thought was weird.
That's true. He wasn't wearing blaze orange. He was dressed. He was in a deer coat. He was draped in a deer
so
skin.
this takes me back to my pin. And I don't know if this is going to come of anything, but where he shoots his dad is in the upper left part of his chest.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything to draw all of this, but I thought it was kind of interesting that the bear gets shot right in that same place where his dad does. And maybe the Royal's dad is, we talked about the whole idea of the souls. Is the soul of Royal's dad in this bear? Are they trying to draw some conclusion there? I just thought it was interesting that those bullet wounds were in the same spot.
Okay. I would venture farther down the road of the buffalo being his dad as opposed to the bear being his dad. Because I think the buffalo has more effect on Royal's life than the bear. But I do like the connection that you've made. I think it just shows that both Cece and Royal are good shots.
Fantastic shots. Yeah.
Fantastic shots.
Fair.
Always hitting what they aim at. The young boy, after shooting his father, goes back to his homestead, sees his mom and sister, and decides, I can't tell them that I just shot Daddy-O, and so I'm going to walk into this field in the West Pasture, I'm assuming, and jump into the hole.
Now, does this hole, we see the hole appear, right? In this sequence. So the idea is the hole is appearing for him, right? It's got to. He needed this hole because he needed to escape, or at least as a kid that went through this incredibly traumatic experience, he needed to escape, right? So the hole has some sort of sentience, or it comes to people for specific reasons, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're gathering from this. And I didn't hit it with Perry, but you hit it at the beginning where, the hole must have appeared for Perry, and because when he dives through it, it disappears. So yeah, maybe the hole is sentient. I think all of us at some point in our life wish there was a hole in the ground we could jump into and disappear. So he jumps through the hole as he's telling Perry the story. He jumps through the hole, and Perry has the wherewithal, which I would not, of asking, "When was this?" And Perry and Royal's like, 1886, and I appeared in 1968. Which
quick 82-year jaunt.
I'm not going to do the math, but I mean, 500-year difference. What's the difference between those 2 years?
82 years. 82 years. Now, are we supposed to believe he spent 82 years in this hole?
No, I think it was instant.
Okay.
Was that a serious question?
I just see young. It wasn't a serious question.
Okay, because I answered it seriously. I even snapped my fingers.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Let's wrap up the act, because I've got more questions about theorizing about the hole and how it moves. And
what's crazy, Tom, is I don't have any questions. I know exactly what's happening. Okay. Oh, the Abbott family took him in, which is cool. And so, yeah.
I do think there is one thing we get from this, though, the fact that Royal did lie to his family. And I don't know who this exactly had this conversation with, but he said, I didn't know what happened to myself before I was 9. It might have been to Autumn. Like, he can't remember his life before 9. But clearly, this backstory shows, yes, he does. He knew of maybe not all of his childhood, but he knew of this traumatic experience and what happened here. So Autumn said the same thing. Autumn said that she didn't know what happened before. So the assumption is that Royal lied in this. Maybe Autumn is lying and she does know what happened, but I don't know. I still get the sense that Autumn does not know what's going on. There's more to Autumn's early life that we don't know, and maybe we'll find out.
That's fair. I want to give Royal props that he's been living as long as he has without a social security number. I don't know how he's gotten away with that. That probably explains why he doesn't have a cell phone. Perry tells Royal that Autumn knows. She knows a lot of things. She's like, she knows a lot of things. She's a really good kisser. And then Royal's like, no, I saw the thing with Billy, and no, that was weird. Anyways, she said, Rebecca's not gone. Nothing's really gone. There's a plan. And then he's like, it saved you.
This is where he gets that look in his eye.
And he's and Royal's like, no, son. And then Perry jumps, as one does when they find a smoky hole in the West Pasture. And the hole closes, and we find Autumn watching in her red outfit on a quad, watching all of this happen. And that was
I've been told
that was Outer Range.
I've been told you know all the answers, so I'll go ahead and start. Does this void appear to those in need? We've kind of talked on it a little bit. Is that your thought? Like, that did this void appear for Perry, but Royal was the one that found it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Next one. Did it appear for Rebecca?
No.
Okay. But it did appear for Perry?
Yes.
Okay. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, we've solved it. This has been Outer Range Season 1. We hope you guys join us for Outer Range Season 7, which is the next time we're going to pick up the show because I'm not watching Season 2 through 6.
Is the idea like, I'm still just confused about the movement of the hole. Like, we've seen people, like, eat the dust, get the dust on their hand, and it kind of pushes them towards the future. But when Royal gets shoved into the hole, and then when he jumps back into the hole, it just takes him forward 2-ish years and then brings him back to the exact moment in time. Like, is that because, like, the hole wasn't for him? It was for Perry? So when you jump into the hole, that's not meant for you? It does something weird? I don't know. I'm theory crafting without any answers, but
no. I'm with you. Well, I think the hole itself and the rock element are different, right? Is the rock element not a residual of maybe where the hole was before or what caused the hole? I separate those two because I don't feel like you can grab what's in the hole and like hold it like a stone. It's like
I agree with that, yeah.
And then to your point, and we can, I guess, pinpoint maybe the time, is like, okay, if the hole is meant for Perry because he's the one in peril. When Royal jumps through it, he goes forward 2 years, and then when he jumps back through it, he is seeing him in the kitchen with Perry talking to Sheriff Joy, right? Is that not? That's the scene he sees.
No, that was when he put his hand in.
That's
he
when
saw
he put
like
his
a very
hand in.
brief glimpse. When he jumps back into the hole, when Cece tells him to run, he just seemingly appears.
We don't know.
That same day.
Yeah. Episode
right
ends
when he came back.
And, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Tom, remember when I told you I had all the answers and had it figured out? I've got a confession. I lied.
Like one thing I read, I was looking at like an article on this episode, and one of the things that it kind of mentioned was like the sins of past life that he's like trying to keep hidden have kind of now destroyed his new family, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. Like he's trying to keep the void, the hole, like all these things locked away from his family, and it's like his past sins from, you know, the accident of hitting his father is like now kind of catching up to him, if you will, because he never like atoned for him, he never faced those demons, if you will, and it's, I don't know, finally caught up to him. Does that make any sense?
I mean, it does. I would argue that, like, he was a 9-year-old kid with a loaded weapon that accidentally shot his dad. Like, that to me is not a sin. That to me is an accident. Like, I mean, how do you atone for that? But yeah, I'm ready for episode 8, buddy. This, to your point, this episode, like, got me back in. There was some good stuff in it. A lot of good needle drops. You know, we got Running Up the Hill by Kate What's Her Name, and it was all good. But no, I'm excited to end this show because I really think they're going to land it. I think they're going to answer all our questions. I don't think they're going to ruin my day by telling me that there's a season 2.
Do you really not want, like, has it been, like, I'm with you. Like, there's been some times throughout this journey where it's kind of slowed down and it's gotten a little bit too off the rails, but I think overall I've still enjoyed this, and I've enjoyed talking through the show with you, whether it lands it or not. I think I've still had a good time. But do you have any specific, like, predictions or thoughts with what we're going to see in the finale, or you don't even want to think about it? Just experience it.
No, I think we're going to understand. I mean, I hope we understand, like, where Perry's going to go. But maybe it's like what your wife thinks. Maybe we're just going to find out that Perry's gone. The ranch is now forfeit. I mean, this all makes sense for the flash forward 2 years. Like, the land's gone because... But Perry's in that... He's standing in that flash forward.
Ooh. Was he?
Right?
Oh, that'd be a great pickup.
He's there. And so is Luke with a handgun. So, how long is Perry gone? I'm interested to know what Perry did to Rebecca. You know, what Royal did to Rebecca. I
feel like we got to solve that, right? We got to
Right.
know about Rebecca. They can't have that looming over the entire season to not answer, or at least give us more to that. I really hope they give us something about the animals, because that's been kind of a weird thread that has just been so weird and so goofy. And I mean, I'm sure there's a neat way they can do it, but if they just leave that as like just really weird, ominous nature stuff and souls, like, I don't know, I need more for that thread of the storyline.
Yeah, the only thing I know is that Jasper's innocent. That's the only thing I know. I mean, do you have any predictions? Anything you want to put out into the world other than we're going to find out what the animals do?
I don't know, man. I've thought about it, but then, like, to your point, like, there's just so many things that could happen. Like, I don't know where the show wants to land, and I haven't read up anything because we know we've watched this a little bit after it's been fully released. I tried to stay away from seeing if there's a season 2 or seeing what kind of theories and stuff have been out there. Any, like, things I read online or just specific things about episodes. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'll just watch and enjoy it, and we'll see what happens, see if they can land it.
Also, Perry is not in jail in the flash forward. So, like, that's the other thing. So he's back and he's not in jail. So if he would have been convicted.
So Perry was with Cece, like, on the sidelines there when they're all waiting for the hole?
When they flash to the people watching, we see Autumn dressed in yellow with all of her people, all of the Teletubbies. and then we see, unless I'm making this vision up, we see Perry standing off there because we don't see Rhett. Because that's kind of when you thought, oh, maybe Rhett's going to go down for the murder. And then we have Luke pop out with the handgun. There's no Billy. So, anyways, this is all conjecture. Let's go watch episode 8 and figure out what happens. They're going to land this plane. They're going to land this Bronco. I believe in them. If you guys have questions, theories before we get to this finale, please send them over to us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at something.
At Team Binge, Twitter, Instagram. We're active on those two. Keep the questions coming. We're still thinking about what we might do as we're waiting for season 3 of Lasso to come out. If you have any suggestions on shows that you've watched recently, you think it'd be fun for us to dive deeper into, feel free to reach us on those social medias or email.
That's true. And as I mentioned at the top of this, Tom and I are heroes. We're doing the good work by making you watch a show 1 week at a time and really focusing on it. And the only way that heroes can sustain themselves is monetarily. So Tom and I are going to be setting up a fund that you can send money to. And if you've ever looked at our logo, our logo is blue, and I think it has a shield on it. So to be ironic, we kind of went with the opposite of like for our donations. So we did a red logo with a cross, and we haven't gotten the website yet, but it's probably going to be like redcross.org, something like that. So if you want to support Tom and I, go to our website, redcross.org, and give some money there. And that will
idea.
That will fuel us, your heroes, who are keeping you binging things over time.
Yes, as long as they're donated in the names of either just Julian for Julian's name and either our Gumshoe or Cowboy Tom.
That's true.
That's all I ask.
So our soon we haven't gotten the domain yet, but I'm sure it's available. So redcross.org, send some money there to support Tom and I as we are heroes. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you for the finale of this crazy show. I have been Julian.
I've been Cowboy Tom. Yeehaw, everybody.